Also, 2 more stages to go. Get ready to head out for Chinese. Ooh, nice, enjoy. Yeah, I think the person that I'm thinking about is also UK, but again, I don't know them well, and I don't know. If not, then it's probably a waste of time, and I'm sorry. Crazy gadget. What was the score rec for this? Because honestly, if anything's gonna give me a bit of a pain, probably this one. We're looking at 17,000 points. Oh dear. Yeah, unfortunately, that sounds accurate. Law really doesn't know how to handle the issue, because it's a lot more complicated than they're trying to make it out to be. Actually, not even, never mind, I'm gonna redact that statement. It's a lot less complicated than what they're trying to make it out to be. Don't know. Really? I did not know that. That's cool. Good on him. Met the Mac and Fuzzled a couple of years back. Cool. Shit. Didn't really get to go over that with the gummy robots there, but after they blast you with their... insert however you want to phrase it here, jizz, ectoplasm, Yu-Gi-Oh! Player's favorite snack, so glue. Right, if for whatever reason they hit you with their thinger, then after a delay, they will fire a normal bullet at you. They usually never hit the down arrow immediately because it is hard to line up with the rail. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. How the hell are you supposed to avoid that? I need to know. The score requisite this time around, by the way, is 17,000. Woo. Frick. The partner studied criminology in 2012. Things were looking up. 10 years later, nothing new was changed. It's been smelling gone. I mean, we could go so far as to say not just ignored, but in cases defecated on for seemingly no reason. Other than people being resistant to change. Age-old traditions don't exactly make for better society. Mundane revelations with Reki. The best societies acknowledge that not everything is going to be standard and unchanging. And at that not everything works well when standardized and unchanging. What do I know? Okay, so maybe the ring requisite is a little bit gentler than I thought at this stage. Now let's see if I can get the shortcut. Because I remember something silly you could do is this. Right, I need to hit a switch. Shit. I forgot that stage of it. And I think to hit the switch, it's over here. If I'm mistaken, yes I am. This is Mystic Melody. Shit. Change doesn't keep feel good in. Yeah, exactly. Which, again, is why if you're gonna change something, then it should be gradual. The standard behaviorism approach for me. You've heard it time and again. Slow changes over time amount to large changes over time. And because of that, it's gentler, it's more well-incentivized, and it doesn't cause large issues. I really hope that I can still get the score requisite I need to hit. Because if I can't, I am a little bit bucked and fuggered. Shit, no! That's why so many politicians push the anti-expert rhetoric. Yeah, exactly. Because what a politician wants more often than not isn't necessarily what society wants. Or large society, I should say. Zeitgeist. Is that they crave being able to manipulate zeitgeist. They're effectively power fantasy assholes that just want to feel like they have more control than they actually do or were intended to. In order to feel a semblance of control, one needs to be able to guide the zeitgeist, what the average person thinks in a situation. A politician knows what they're doing if they're willing to let the zeitgeist act on its own. Experts are threats and say no more. Not exactly hard of the career politician. Yay. Why spend more money on improving the prison system and focusing on rehabilitation? We could just continue to make money off of it. Yeah, exactly. Though, here's the thing with having the law mandate the change. That by itself isn't necessarily reinforcing enough. There needs to be the adequate systems in place to allow for it. Without said systems, nothing changes. Great. Well, starting again. Yeah, pulling repeatedly shows the general public just doesn't give it a shit. It's low on their priority. To be simple, it's low on their priorities list because the zeitgeist of humanity is, can I actually feed myself and or my family? Can I actually maintain a job? And can I be able to live off of my income and maybe even be able to get a little more besides that? Change your diet is a good incentive. You say that. You'd be surprised. Having looked at the world of substance abuse, death does not scare a person in cases. It certainly doesn't work on these guys. Because if it had scared them, then they would be working to correct some habits. No, if anything, death is too gentle of a motivator. And in many cases, suffering is too. Punishments never work when it comes to having a person change or incentivizing their change. You need to be able to reward their good efforts. And this is the consistent issue that I see with parents. They don't realize, why is that bugging? They don't realize that in order to raise a child, you need to be able to do more than just slap their hand. To put this another way, there's a reason why a good lot of buddy cop films tend to do the whole carrot and stick, good cop, bad cop type of interrogation scene. Because, not just because it's tried and true in media and works for the story that's being told, but because psychologically it works. Show the person not just, hey, this is what happens when bad event occurs, but also this is what happens when good event occurs, and leave the autonomy to the person making the decision in the first place, and not force it. Because the moment it's forced in any one way, shape, or form, the zeitgeist of a forced human is, okay, how can I corrupt this in such a way that I don't have to follow along with this, but still get what I want? It's just token humanity. Easily politicized distraction. Woo! From the lack of action by politicians on actual issues. Yep, pretty much. And to be frank, the actual issues in the current day and age, especially in the US, are, hey, everything is too damn expensive. I can't eat. I can't hold a job anymore. The big things that are ruining society at this point are AI, which politicians keep wanting to put, which politicians and tech companies keep wanting to push, because it lets them control, because it gives them that semblance of control that they're craving. Everyone wants to own a business, no one wants to recognize just how much effort is involved in the actual day-to-day running of said business. They just want to have their name on a fancy placard. Irony, honestly. Because if they'd only realized that it's through hard work and dedication that you actually start to appreciate some of the things that you have in the world, then maybe you'd actually earn that placard that you're craving. But no, humans are vain creatures. They want the highest reward for the lowest effort. Again, this isn't necessarily true, but this is my belief based off of what I've learned as a behaviorist. Okay, lost the barrier, but that's fine. We could still spin this. Just need to make sure I don't get hit again before I hit the checkpoint. Which is right here. Perfect. Facing record levels of inequality, cost of living crisis, difficulty with jobs, AI. Mm-hmm. The most beneficial type of governance on societal betterment might actually be benign autocracy. That's very frustrating to hear. But again, it's also based on evidence at this point. Because as a current, the concepts like communism, well, they don't work. Capitalism definitely doesn't work. Oligarchy definitely doesn't work. And if anything, is even more prone to corruption. And hell, even autocracy, letting people live off their own merit and everything, may not work either. Unfortunately, this is just a question with no real good answer. Which itself is frustrating to hear. And it's specifically because we're dealing with humans at the end of the day. Yeah, exactly. Autocrats, by nature, aren't benign in the first place, because they're in their form of power because society kind of failed. Yeah. And this is a trope that a lot of sci-fi and whatnot, oh my god, 160 within the score limit? A lot of media ends up using this aspect, showing that, hey, if everyone is the same and uniform, it still doesn't work because nothing incentivizes change. Nothing incentivizes growth anymore. Because there's no point to growing. Essentially, by creating that all is one mentality, you've hit the perfection that de-incentivizes a person to want to grow in the first place, let alone change their state. And as a result, the stagnation of society ends up being what causes its downfall. Exactly, hive mind politics. Because nothing changes anymore, no one wants to grow anymore, and society crumbles specifically because it no longer has the ability to adapt. Which arguably is the reason why society exists in the first place, to encourage adaptation and growth. Just put Leica in charge. I mean, there's a joke that would be said, there is a meme that floats around every so often that says, hey, if we would just put society in the hands of the autistic, then it would actually be workable. I highly doubt that, but hey, it's a meme that exists. To an extent, we know what's what because we see the issues in humanity. But at the same rate, then we also get to the issue of, oh hey, isn't this technically just another version of apartheid? Strategically culling society to only allow for the autistic to hold government. It'd be chaotic, but it might work. Again, who knows? I'm just a raccoon who continually gets their dick slapped by artificial chaos. Maybe it's a good choice since you don't want to consolidate more power. Yeah, I believe there is a, and I know this because I actually use as a narrative point, kind of. There is a workplace theory. There is a occupational psychology theory called, I believe it was like the James principle or something like that, where humans are continually promoted in their careers up until the point that they become their most useless. How the fuck do you avoid that? Like, seriously. I tried jumping, hentai. I move, hentai. This is the 100 ring mission, isn't it? Yeah, this is the 100 ring mission. Oh my nuggets. Don't mind me, I'm starting to go insane. Issue with any form of governance is the people who want to rule in LEC positions of power. Yep, and inevitably become corrupt. And unfortunately, that's just how humans operate. Inherently, humans have a lust for control, and this is baked into them behaviorally by evolution. And I know this because it's baked into any other form of animal too! Any animal wants to be able to control their environment because it makes it easier to survive. So of course, the moment that it's impossible for them to control their environment, they either explode, they either lash out, they either explode, lash out, or otherwise become complacent. Okay, finally, we're getting to the Lost Chow mission, and stop me if you heard this one. A Lost Chow mission, which takes place in a long-ass stage, which asks you to go through almost the entire stage to get to it. With the bulk of things like mental health, crime. Oh shit. Causal link. Ooh, have causal links. Fear. I mean, that can work, but at the same rate, isn't that also, how do I put this? Not necessarily ironic, but doesn't it go against the grain of the message being attempted to being taught in the first place? Fear discrimination, and as such, discriminate the people sowing fear. That doesn't quite work in my mind. It can help for having a good benchmark, but at the same rate, again, that's just my interpretation of it. Call me wrong on it, I could be. It just doesn't quite sound right. Because in this particular instance, you need to be able to split the hair on what counts as discrimination. And that's a very, very difficult hair to split because not every question is necessarily discriminatory in nature. It could just be ignorance. Again, this isn't necessarily me playing devil's advocate in this situation, though it sounds like it. Play nation states to see their country survives. Oh, it will not. I can guarantee you, it would not. Because I'd have to play the mental gymnastics role of, okay, how much is balance? The best society is one that is able to achieve a sense of balance. Have enough power that it can protect itself, but not so much that it's overly seeking it. Have enough rules in place that everyone knows what they should and shouldn't do, but not so much that it feels stifling, and not so little that it feels aimless. And specifically because of how I have it defined, it is such a thin hair to split that it's effectively impossible. Game, what happened there? Talk about the idea of queer humanitarian readings. The same sort of elements of control have been claimed as the reason to enforce the status quo, perceiving any change as one that will hurt their way of life. Yes. And therein lies the problem. Maybe it's just my own belief system on kicking in on this one, but for me, the biggest issue that society tends to have is the fact that they force their ideals onto other people, instead of allowing them to live as they are. But at the same right, it's hard to split the hair of, hey, I'm just asserting this is how I've lived, and hey, this is me asserting how I've lived, and you should follow it. Technically speaking, neither of these are wrong since they're only stating a perception. It's the point where they try to force that perception into reality that it's wrong. So in other words, a weird gymnastics of, it should be somewhat okay for a person to say, hey, I'm not used to this. But if they try to force it out of you, just to conform to their way of viewing the world, that is wrong. Or rather, force you to comply with their view of the world. Right, I need to forget, for the Lost Chow missions, I don't necessarily have to worry about score or anything like that. I just need to reach a specific part of the stage. Ideally, it should be fast. Where's the line between enforcing human rights and treading on tradition? Excuse me? Mutilation? This is where I draw the line in, yeah, you're hurting someone. That is fundamentally wrong. Because you should never have to hurt someone to prove a point. Non-medical circumcision is banned. And honestly, it probably should be looked at. If you do not give your consent, or do not have a body allowing, a entity that is legally responsible for you giving consent, you shouldn't be able to do it. Information should be given to a person in advance of them making a decision, and it should be left to them. If they don't want to think about it, then you shouldn't be allowed to pressure that decision either. What duct tape happened there? But yeah, this entire discussion, unfortunately, is a very rough catch-22. Because on the one hand, in order to be able to get to a point, you need to be able to express the opinion. And in order to express the opinion, you need to get to an uncomfortable point. Well, an uncomfortable point that not everyone is willing to cross. And unfortunately, some points have to be expressed, even if they're uncomfortable. Brings up FGM and parental consent. Exactly. And I'm gonna argue that you gotta be 18 years of age. Because that's when biological processes start to taper off and your form beings start to be anchored. Enough, rather. 18 years of age is about when the human mentally is at least somewhat capable of making their own decisions. In line with competency? I'm not too familiar with that one. I might ask for that. Informed patient is a good start. Yes. When the authorities in those cases are usually the parent who on religious grounds gives permission. That's another problem with this too. Because many will assert that God should have its own decision on the situation. But here's the thing. God is a construct. It is a zeitgeist, effectively, that humans are attempting to give a body. And technically speaking, it does not make any decisions for itself or other people, because it's not in existence and alive. And yes, the same people that argue that God should have a right to decide as well are the same people that say God is everywhere, God always lives in everyone. Maybe I'm just approaching it from a physical perspective, but if they don't have a physical body, then it's very difficult to prove their existence. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, humans think, but even that has been proven physiologically, or rather neurologically. Thoughts are effectively signals of neurons. By the same respect that a person can say a deity lives, I could technically say that a thought lives. And that's technically not wrong. Because a thought is something that does not have a physical body necessarily, but it influences so many people. It exists, and much in the same way that a deity does. So as a result, is a deity not a thought? I hate to be a straw man on this, but if the answer is no, then you'd better have good gymnastics to prove that. And, at least that I've seen, the average person that is willing to stake their life on that is not capable of the gymnastics required. Or if they are, then they're using some very broken arguments to do so. Yes, as soon as it can directly sign a consent form, that's proof. Well, not just sign a consent form, but understand it. That is the more important aspect. And this is why I love writing what I'm writing, because I get to do this type of shit. I get to poke at the hornet's nests that no one really wants to, and probably be wrong on it in the process. But that's fine, because at the end of the day, it's just a hornet's nest. You're gonna have to deal with the bee stings regardless. I guess this also technically segues into the fact that, hi, I finished chapter 2 of the story of Mindless. Well, sorry, not Mindless. I mean, right, I forgot for a second this was the time challenge. I hate myself. Understand it's kind of moot with deities. Yeah, because deities don't necessarily... How do I put this? Exist in a physical form, for one thing. If a hand material is in front of me in signed consent form, I'm not contesting whether it knows what's signing. I mean, I kinda would, because, again, something that needs to be recognized is not just autonomy, but also understanding. And understanding itself is a difficult thing to measure. And to the point that it's still not quite understood itself in other animals. Take a look at a study, for example, of... Actually, I could just pick any old animal-based study on this. Did you know, for example, that tests were performed with raccoons and foxes, and on average, raccoons were able to solve one more puzzle than foxes would, and be able to remember it. Remember that puzzle for longer. One more puzzle for longer. But at the same rate, this same study doesn't necessarily ask the question of, did this raccoon or fox understand what the puzzle was in the first place? Let alone why they needed to solve it. Technically speaking, one could argue that, hey, they just needed to solve it because we're giving them some food at the end of it. Because they solve this puzzle, they get a treat. But at the same rate, is that necessarily understanding? All they understand, technically, is, hey, I do this thing, I get food. Harkness testing the hand of dog. No! That's unfortunately another way to look at it. Oh. And I can't exactly say no. This is the Chinese room premises. Oh, I'm not 100% familiar. Can you elaborate? Shit. Missed the little beetle. Laika, honey! Did you really forget food? Again. I mean, I'm not calling you out for this. Actually, I am. This is what you get with an average Reki stream. It is theological discussion. Oh, hey, perverted joke. Theological discussion. Oh, hey, perverted joke. There really is no in-between, is there? It is simultaneous both dipoles and penetration with both dipoles. Suppose AI research has succeeded in programming a computer to behave as if it understands Chinese, accepts Chinese characters, carries out each instruction, and produces output. It does it perfectly so that no one can tell they're communicating with a machine and not a hidden Chinese speaker. I think, therefore, I came. Yeah. Like, and again, I recognize that this is a very difficult hair to split. What necessarily counts as autonomy? What necessarily counts as understanding? And it's something that things like Asimov's principles have consistently struggled and attempted to explain. But it's also, in its own right, kind of impossible to test. Because it itself relies on concepts that are so nebulous and difficult to interpret that it's hard to give a concrete yes or no as to what does and does not apply. Shit, come on. Please be enough time, 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 please be enough time. Woo! Chinese characters are slipped in under the door. He follows program step by step. How is that still an A rank? I think it knows something, but does it truly understand? Alright, as a little break, there is something I did want to do. Because, and I did have to research this. I think I said at one point that there were a whole bunch of menu themes that were specifically obtainable by emblems. There is one that isn't. Thanks to the right time that iRobot got movie when they broke all of the rules of robotics. Lol. Is it left or right? I'm trying to remember, because like there were 3 menu themes that are unlockable via emblems, but there's also one more, which is unlockable by just rotating around this ring. Rotate the left stick clockwise or anti-wise. Okay. There we go. Yeah, for whatever reason, one of the menu themes that you can unlock is the secretary when you're getting your PhD in human philosophy. Oh, fuck that. You kidding? That isn't even going to be worth the paper it's printed on. Who follows the program will always get the right output, but they never understand Chinese. And at that point, I think you can technically say that they don't exactly, that they have autonomy, certainly, because they're making the conscious decision to write all these characters. But they don't necessarily, they may understand the process that, hey, they have a specific set of instructions that they need to do. But they also don't understand Chinese because they might not have put in the effort to understand what the individual characters and sentences mean. However, if they're doing all of this and also simultaneously attempting to understand, and even successfully understand, what each individual character means in each individual set of prompts, then they are technically understanding Chinese, and as a result, they are understanding. Fuck. Why is it that Sonic Adventure S rank, or Sonic Adventure A ranks, is pulling the philosophical Reki out of their cave? and probably boring the audience. I'm sorry. But at the same rate, this is what I live for. Psychology and philosophy are effectively splitting some of the same hair. They're not that distant from one another, because at the end of the day, it's attempting to boil down information related to how people think and operate. Psychology is the logic, philosophy is the reason, and the both of them together are what inspire action. Also, what the fuck is this platforming? You put up crates on rails, crates on rails, crates on rails? Okay, that's different. I guess the reason why I'm going to all of this philosophical haberdashery is at least because I feel like I need something to fill the void. Excuse me. A ranks in this game can be a bit on the trickier. Ow, fuck you. They can be a bit on the dry side sometimes. So you gotta have something available to talk about. So that way you don't go insane. Ah, there's more. There's a second. I see. I understand. Therefore, ow. Right, I never said the score requisite for this stage is 15,000. I don't even know if this is gonna behave. Okay, it behaved. It didn't behave. And because of that, we gotta start from the beginning. Because dying removes all of your score. Who in their right mind, and I'm gonna keep saying this, decided that score should be what decides an A rank in a Sonic game, which is often entirely dependent on where did my rings go? Clearing stages quickly. I've seen it used for PhD in philosophy, but you might hate it a lot. Oh dear. Let me guess, public speaker, politician, dead guy on the other side of the blowhole, of the blowjob hole. Why is AI ethical? You know, nothing should surprise me anymore. And yet, life finds a way. Life finds a way to consistently surprise and disappoint me. We could add flying cars and hoverboards in 2029, and yet what we get instead is AI. Sonic, stop hugging that! What the fuck? Oh, that pisses me off. Evidently, Sonic really, really loved that Badnik. I know it's not a Badnik, shut up. It's not society. I mean, yes, but at the same rate, yes. Also, why am I depending on Ancient Light? I think that's your first mistake, Randy. Ah, shit! You know what? I have a terrible idea. Terrible idea did not work. In other unrelated news, water is considered moisture, and at least 33% of the time, a liquid. And finally, humans suck. Rather, I should say humans suck and also shouldn't have adapted out their tails. I want a long, fluffy tail, and one that isn't monkey. Hate monkeys. Yeah, you want? There's actually 700 humans in India. Powered by humans, literally. I'll make sure to look at that article at one point. A little bit perturbed. I hope I don't need all of those rings to hit the point goal. Actually, how much is the point goal? 15,000. Okay, so I can maybe hit it. Whee! Okay, if I could just hit 15,000 by the end of the stage, hell, if I could even hit 12,000 by the end of the stage, I should be clear. Ah! This is distinctly different. Excuse me! So close. I just realized when I'm getting around to editing this specific VOD, I'm gonna have to put a disclaimer I'm gonna have to put some type of disclaimer for theology. Wow, I can't speak. For a theological discussion. In all of this, I've only started to realize that I've inadvertently become a hodgepodge of Nathaniel Hoover and Carl Sagan, and I don't know how to feel on that. The only difference is, while he nerds on about biology, I nerd on about psychology. Fucking platforming! Ooh, I hate this. Warning, may induce existentialism. You know, I may use those exact words. Editing me. If you get to this point, make sure that you use that as the disclaimer. The following media may induce existentialism. Thankies. Love your face. Ordinary platform was hard. I mean, it is. It still is, Kia. See what happens if I cut out 100 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Woo! Good. As long as it's not nihilism. I mean, yeah. Yeah. See, here's the problem with that. Sometimes I do engage in a bit of nihilism, where it feels like nothing matters, when in actuality, a lot of things matter more than we give them credit for. Like that ancient light that actually did its job. Holy shit, it actually did its job, and I am scared for my existence. Also, a rail. That was a lot cleaner than I expected it to be. This is a lot cleaner than I don't expect it to be. Oh, right, they changed the location of the thing here, didn't they? Never mind, it's right there. It's right there. What? I need to know now. I need to know now. How the fuzzy has this been one of the easier instances of A rank I've had? You know what? You get to live. Fuck this, I'm breaking pace. Oh. Oh, I see. Technically speaking, that isn't exactly impossible. It's just not worthwhile. Okay, we have the 15,000. Memes in Racky's DMs. Oh dear. We'll probably take a look at it. Oh. Once I figure out the path through this labyrinth, because This is a lot more complicated this time around. And or functioning as intended. Stop cradling that, Sonic. You don't know where it's been. Actually, you know exactly where it's been. Okay. So my first mission in all this is find the damn switch. Whee! Okay, there's some laser limbo. That don't impress me much. That, on the other hand, that's just mean. The exact one place where it predicts that you're going to jump off and land at. Okay, switch is not here. Switch is not here. That is very concerning. Ow. Okay, nothing there. So I'm gonna guess. They wouldn't put it up on the Mystic Melody path, would they? Okay, that's the game saying, hey, congratulations, you made it this far. By the way, wrong way, asshole. Okay, Okay, so where's the switch then? Turn around when possible. I mean, yeah. Omichow exists to give hints. I didn't necessarily say that they were helpful. AI, an Indian. API, a person in India. LLM, low-cost labor in Mumbai. AGI, a genius Indian. GPT, Gujarati professional typist. I love that. I love that. That is the best thing. You gotta be kidding me. That is the stupidest place. Like, literally... What, did I fail a spot check or something? I could be mad. Instead, I'm gonna be livid. Yeah, there's no way in hell I'm making that. Don't touch anything on the stick. Okay, good. Also, pointing out, 9 minutes. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Maybe 10. Also very glad, by the way, that I cleared out all the enemies on the way here. Because otherwise, I could see myself getting sucker punched right here and start screaming. Fortunately, we're better than that. Stage clear. And hopefully, that's enough points. Please, your Drossel, tell me that's enough points. Yeah, no time bonus. I don't care. Oh, good.